And there's always the problem of your embalming machine. You look after it. There's other things that you need to do to service it, to make sure that it's clean, the filter's clean, and that way you're not going to put any foreign objects or things into the deceased body that's going to cause problems because if you jam up the arteries and that. Now, first of all, I've been in the industry since about '86, but I've been nursing since about '65. So I've had most probably about 50 years of knowledge of nursing and embalming, funeral directing, whatever. And I think I have some knowledge of what I need to be able to tell you how you can look after your machines. Now, our first machine, or the first thing I need to talk to you about is you need to know your machine. And let's see now. I need to put that one over here. Yep, okay. So, embalming machines, you need to know your machine, how to clean the filters. What happens if your power goes off midway through a embalm? Now, that's a big thing that can actually happen. And you need to know what is going to happen. Now, there is a couple of machines that are on the market, and the first one that I'm going to show you is one that's made in New Zealand. And this one. Okay. And it's a Mortec machine. I'm not too sure about it, but it is quite good. It has a tank. You can actually see the flow. There it is. Sorry. There's the flow. And this will give you an idea how much fluid is in the system. This one here is a flow meter that will gauge the amount of fluid that you want to put in to the deceased. Here you have a gauge which will give you the pressure. You can actually have it on straight flow or you can have it on pulse. This button here is to put it on, and you can regulate how much you actually place into the deceased. You've got the pipe over the side here which will go straight into the deceased with an arterial tube. The next one is just another close-up of the embalming machine. It's in ounces and mils of how much that's going in. And usually you don't really want to be going too much. You don't want to be taking too much pressure. There are some books that say you can have really high pressure and low flow. I tend to just err on the side of safety and have a reasonable pressure, usually around about 40, and then you can have a flow of around about, say, 10 to 15, maybe 20. Our next slide is another close-up of it, and it's just to show you that it's a big machine. It takes around about 12 litres, which is the usual size for machines. Now, this one is it's most probably over 30 years of age. It's made in the US, Porty Boy. It's been around for donkey's ages. It's a very simple type of machine, and it does very, very well, and it gives the results of what everybody needs. This is another shot of it. You have your pressure gauge here. You can put your pressure up or you can have it down low. You've got here, which will give you the reading of how much pressure, and then you can have your flow here. Turn this little knob here, and you can actually have the amount of fluid that's actually going in to the deceased. Switch over here. Well, actually, first you have to switch this one on, push it on, and then you can have a flow, or you can have your straight flow. And then you have an indicator up here that tells you how much fluid. If you're going to do an autopsy case, you need to know how much you're going to put into the limbs so that you don't overfill them, and then you can do other things. And it just gives you a reading of how much you've used from there down to the next stop, how many mils that you put into the deceased. Another shot there. Now, this is a close-up if you can see it. This is a PE10. It's a really good machine. This one's most probably about 30 years of age, and it still goes. I service the machine to make sure that it does work, and you keep the filter cleaned, and you'll have no problems with it at all. At the back of the machine, where you've got the perforations, you can unscrew it to see what is inside. You've got your motor up here, and you've got your filter. Just in this part here is where the filter is. This is the where you've got your exchange, comes in and then goes out the bottom. This part here, don't take it apart, because that's going to give you the inside of the propeller that's actually turning the fluid to pass it around into the machine. And you've just got some regulators in here, all your pipes underneath. You don't need to service them, just to keep an eye on them. And there's some parts that actually will vibrate, so that's why they've got extra pieces of pipe around them, just to make sure that there's nothing happening. And up the top here is where you have your gauges, which are on the front, but all this is in the back. And there's another shot of it. You can see actually the gauges up there, where the fluid comes into one of the gauges so that you can get your pressure. Another shot. Now, this part here is the part you need to unscrew to actually get in to get the filter out. And if you use a spanner, very gingerly, because it's all brass, you need to be careful that you don't strip it. And just be careful, unscrew it, and it's an anti-clockwise. So go it and then use your finger pressure to take that nut off, and that's the nut there. There's your filter, and you'd be surprised the amount of gunk that gets put into there. Lots of little furs. You think the water is clean, but it's not. There's an awful lot of stuff that's in there that's just going to cause you problems. There's a close-up. I've actually cleaned that. As you can see, it's when you put it in there, it's obviously pushed on the end, and this part is pushed up inside that nut, so to actually stop any other fluids and any other things getting out other than through that little filter. And as I said, sometimes it gets really, really dirty. There's another shot, and it's very fine, and it's amazing how much that it will pick up. Now, there's the filter cartridge where you actually put the filter back into. Be careful, as I said, when you put that nut in, you do not strip that thread, because otherwise, with the amount of pressure that's in there, it will leak all over the place, and you'll have to get a whole new pump assembly. And you're talking a lot of money, and it may have to come out from America, which is not too good. Now, this is another machine that we have. It's called an APC. That's a Dodge machine. It's one of the newer ones, and it actually regulates the pressure within the body, and it doesn't allow you to overfill. It's supposed to stop. I've never had that problem because I don't leave the machine unattended. It's your responsibility. Once you turn that machine on, you have to make sure that it's not going to blow up the deceased in any way, and you keep an eye on the rate of flow and what is happening everywhere. You're looking at the machine, you're looking at the body, you're just making sure what part that it's in, because there's so many things that can happen so very quickly, and then it takes time to actually correct all those problems. This is what it's called, APC, just to let you know. This has been made to Australian conditions because we have the 220, 240. If it's an American one, then it'll have to be, I think it's 112 or something. It's 3 amp and it's 50 to 60 hertz. So if you're going to do anything, when you take the back off to get into things, you make sure that you pull the plug out of the wall and see that it's off. Don't have anything that you can get a shock. This is another shot of the machine itself. As you can see, this is the total fluid that we have in the tank, and the other side we have the rate of flow and the pressure. So this will tell you when you're putting your fluid in by this little dial here, that's a low pressure, and then you turn it up to what you want. So anywhere between 10 and 20, 15 is a good rate, and then to get a proper fixation of the deceased, you need to put it on rate of flow and regulate the amount of fluid that's coming into the body.
I think there's something wrong.
Something wrong?
Yeah. Just bear with me now.
Yes.
It's presenting the wrong one.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay.
Seems to be coming up, I think.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this.
Yes.
So can you go back to the beginning again? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been showing the screen. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it.
Yes.
From your introduction.
Yes.
Start again.
All right.
All right. So do that.
So do you want to stop the podcast?
No.
No.
Just go from here.
Go from here.
All right. So
So you want to speak all that again?
yeah. Sorry, mate.
Okay.
I just ended up with the wrong screen on the broadcast.
All right. You can go in and edit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So use that screen.
Okay. All right. Welcome. My name's Donald Harper, and I'm an embalmer. I have been for the last 30 years. I've been in the industry for that long, but I've been as a nurse, as a orderly, worked in the RAF, and I've had over 50 years in the nursing. Since becoming an embalmer, I've been able to travel all over the place, especially in South Australia, to be able to go to country funeral homes, to teach, to actually do embalms for people to keep them for an extended period of time, and also to be able to repat people to overseas destinations. In your machine, you need to know what is going to happen in case something happens. You need to know the machine, how it's working, and how to clean the filters. What happens if your power goes off halfway through your embalm? That's very difficult. I mean, it's like you just start to panic. You think, oh, I'm only half finished, but I need to finish this job. So we're going to just run through some things on how that we can show you some different embalming machines. This one here is made in New Zealand by Mortec. This one? Okay, well on that. So tap that one. Okay. Now this one here, it has a flow meter, as you can see there, and that shows you how much is actually going to go into the cease. Up here we have an off and on switch where there's pulse. Where it's on, that means it's flowing just straight away, or you can have it as pulse. This one here showing the amount of pressure that's going into the cease. This one here, if we turn it clockwise, it's going to allow the amount of fluid to come into the system. And we have another one here. This is another close-up, just to show you that it's quite a big machine. This hose over here is what goes into the cease with an arterial tube, and that'll show you how to, will allow you to put the fluid into the body. Okay, this is a Porty Boy. It's been around for a long while, and it's very serviceable, and I've actually used this one for the last 30 years, and it's a really, really good machine. Like all machines, they need to be serviced, and on the back here we have screws to take them off, but first of all you need to switch off your power and take the plug out of the socket to be able to service these. So once you can take those screws off, then you need to, there's another shot there, you need to undo the back so you can have a look. This is a front view of it. It's going to show you the flow meter, and it regulates the amount of fluid that's coming into the body. Normally, anywhere between 10 and 20, maybe 15 on a pulse is the best way to do things. This here is an on-off switch. There's your pressure gauge, or excuse me, there's your pressure gauge. And this is telling you how much pressure that's going into the body. This one here is showing you can have a low flow rate or a no flow rate. You've got a gauge up here that'll tell you how much fluid is going into the body, and it's a good idea when you fill your tank up to set it at a certain point and work out how much you're going to put in. Sometimes you need to put in sometimes 2.5 litres, maybe you need to put in 3.5 litres into the lower limb. And so you need to have this gauge here so that you can tell how much fluid that's going into the deceased. All right, we'll move on to the next one. There's another shot of the machine. This here will tell you when it's pulsing. It goes boof, boof, boof. So you know that it's doing and it's moving in. Another close-up shot of the Porty Boy. Now, underneath you will find, and over here is the motor that's actually going to drive this filter. This filter part here, do not take this off because there's the impeller is inside there, and you could disturb that. And if you do that, you might have a lot of problems. We've got the fluid coming in here and the fluid going out at the bottom. Up the top here, we have a nut, and it's all brass, so you need to be very careful when you're actually doing your work, because if you strip it, you'll have big, big problems. Inside there, that's where the filter is. And up the top here is where you can see where the filter gauges are. All these pipes in here actually are protecting your machine for any build-up that you have within the body, and it will reroute itself around so that it does not clog up the system, and it'll just blow up your body. Another shot of that. And there's a close-up of the filter, and you can see the nut there that has to come off. And there's another close-up. This one here has been taken off a few times, as you can see. The nut's been burred a bit. Now, I use a spanner to try and get it off. Be careful. You don't have an awful lot of room in there, but you'll need to just be careful to take that nut off. And once you release it, take it off with finger pressure. There's your nut, there's the filter. And as you can see, I've actually cleaned that because there was some junk in there. It actually is very, very, very fine mesh to stop anything. Even with normal town water and things, the dust is in the air, but it can get in. Even when you've got the lid off the machine, dust can get in there, and it can cause problems, and you don't want that flowing into the body itself. There's another close-up of the nut and the filter, and it's been well used. I mean, to say that's 30 years old, that is. And then you just keep that nice and clean, and you'll be right for the next time. Now, there is where I've taken it out of, and your filter goes down into there, and that's going to filter because the fluid's coming in there, getting squashed around in there, around the impeller, and then goes back out the bottom again. All right, now we have a new machine here. This is the Dodge APC. It's automatic pressure control. It's supposed to, if you've got hooked up to the deceased, it will, if you're building up pressure, it will stop it automatically. I've never had that happen to me because I'm always looking at what's happening with the machine, happening with the body. Now, it's up to your responsibility that once you turn this machine on, you have total control over what happens. You can't turn away, you can't walk away from the machine. You have to stay there and keep an eye on things. If somebody is calling you or you need to answer the phone in the mortuary, turn the machine off. Then you are safeguarded that you don't have any problems with your body. This one over here is telling you how much total fluid is in the tank. This part here is behind this Dodge here is your tank. So this is telling me that there's 3 liters, left in the tank. And this one over here is just telling me that this one, the little metal piece, when you turn this up for your pressure, that's going to go up. So anywhere between 10 and 20 is a good pressure for doing your embalm, or even doing your TPs, which is temporary preservation. And you're just looking for to have somebody for a viewing or whatever. You want to keep them, say, maybe about a week. This fitting here with your hose, you need to be very careful with this. Don't leave this hose hanging where you actually step on it, because if you break just around there, you're going to have to buy a whole new fitting because that slips in and slips out. You push down that and that releases the pipe out of the machine. It's a highly good machine, but you need to look after it and care for it. Don't just abuse it, because otherwise you're in a tight spot and you want to use it and it's gone. This is the back of the machine, and all this here, there's a couple of screws there, and then there's screws underneath up in the corner. For the demonstration that I've done, all I've done is pull the front off the back off, so I can get in to show you what it looks like on the inside. And this is what it looks like. There's your tank, and there's your in and your out. This part here is your filter, and that can be accessed from underneath. As again, there's the impeller. Don't take that off to have a look, because there's no need for it. This just regulates the amount of flow, but as it's been set by the factory, don't touch it. Inside, you have your motor, and there's your tank there where the fluid goes into. Okay, next shot. Here's another close-up. As you can see, this part here is coming out of the bottom of the tank, which is going to your flow meter on the front. As again, there's your filter. Don't touch these. You don't need to do that. Okay, underneath you'll find the filter housing. This part here, if you turn anti-clockwise with your hand, it's big enough to grab. All you have to do is to take that off. And when you take that off, you will see the filter inside that housing, which fits up inside that aluminium sheath there. This machine was on its side, and as you can see, there was some still fluid within this filter that spilled onto that towel. There's a close-up view, and I was quite astounded how much filter was in this filter. As you can see, there's an awful lot. There's even hair, and there's gunk, and the dyes from the embalming fluids have actually turned the dust and all the debris to a different color. So this is the sort of thing that's going to build up inside your machine. You need to make sure that this is not going to cause you any problems. I'll give you a closer view. As you can see there's some awful junk in there, and it's also, you need to make sure that this is cleaned. See, this here is all the hairs that are picked up that would float up in the air, or they could be in the container where you fill up with water, could be anywhere. All these things need to be cleaned out. There's a clean one. As you can see, there's a total difference between that and the previous picture. It's been washed under the tap, and it's clean for the next time you use the machine. There's the housing that actually is going up into the machine. The other housing where the filter is screws up onto that, and you screw it clockwise. So to undo it, anti-clockwise. To do it up, clockwise. And there it is in situ. And make sure you don't tighten it too tight, otherwise you won't be able to get it undone anymore. But that housing is plastic, so you need to be careful. Don't overscrew it, otherwise you might do something to the thread, and then it could cause you problems elsewhere. Now, on the front of the machine, you have the flow meter. If you have any problems that it's going to cause blockages or anything, get yourself a 60 ml syringe, and at the back of the tank there's a hole. Fill that up with water, or you can put chelator or any water corrective in it, and squirt it fairly high pressure into that, and you'll find that the water in the front will rise and fall because it's actually cleaning out the pipe that's going to go to that. If it's not, then you need to put something, another piece of pipe that will fit into that hole, maybe mains water pressure, and turn that water on just to clear everything that's in that pipe. The other one, looking at the machine on the right hand side, that one there is just telling you how much is in the tank. And you can, once you've done an embalm, you need to make sure that you clean it out and leave chelator in it. Now, a thing that I forgot to mention about the porty boy, in the middle where the fluid goes down into the hole, there's a little plastic container with a plastic ball in there. You need to make sure that plastic fitting and the ball is covered with fluid. Now that can be chelator again, or some sort of water softener. So then when you are ready to use the machine again, drain that out, put some fresh water in, and then you can put your other chemicals in, and away you go embalming. But with any machine, you need to wash it out after you've done it, because all the formaldehyde that you use is corrosive. That's why they're using brass, so that it doesn't rust. There's stainless steel for the tank, and that way you won't have any problems. With this machine here, we've got a tap that goes straight into the tank so that there's no jugs filling it here and there, and it's it's safer, and it's a lot cleaner too. But that doesn't mean there's no junk that's in the water that comes from the town supply. This here is a machine. It's a Dayton. It's come from America. It's very, very heavy, and it comes in a case with everything in it, and it's all stainless steel. This is around about 3/8 of an inch thick. It is hugely heavy, and you have to have this. You buy the machine, then you buy the power pack, and then you have to buy something else. So you're looking at a few $1,000s to do this. I'll have to get back to you to where you might be able to find one, but I think it might be out of reach from a lot of people. Here's another shot of it. There, and there's your gauge. There's your switch, or how much fluid you want. Here is telling you how much fluid is in the tank. We've got a stopcock here, so you can turn it on and off, and you've got your switches here for on and off. Now, the next question is, the last one is, what's going to happen to you if you have a power stroke? You're halfway through an embalm, and you come to a delicate part, and you really, really need to do this. You've got the funeral director saying, oh, come on, I want this body, I want this body. And you say, well, there's no power, but there is an alternative. In the last couple of years, I've been able to do things, travel around, as I've said before. And so I thought, I need to do something that I'm able to go into somewhere without having to use their machine, or if I was out in the back of, as we say in Australia, whoop whoop, I can actually embalm somebody without any electricity. And this is what I've used. It's a garden sprayer. And what I've done is set up a stopcock, which is here. There is a pressure release. This is your pressure. So you pump that to how much pressure you want in this tube. This one here is, if you feel that there's too much pressure in there, then you pull it up and it releases the pressure. You can put your tubes on there, and it's so versatile for me. I've been able to send people all over the world, and I've been able to use this, and I'm very comfortable using it. It will give me every result that I ever want, and I guarantee the work that I do. So if you're going up the head, a couple of pumps on this plunger, and that'll put enough pressure in there to give you what you need to do is to go up into the head. Now, if you're unsure of what's happening, you get this stopcock and you have a bowl and turn it until you find how much fluid is coming out of the tube into the bowl, and then that'll give you some idea of how much fluid is coming out of that tube and into the deceased. You regulate, so you're the regulator, and you don't have any blow-ups, because if you feel that it's not right, release the pressure. It's like turning the machine on. And you keep this close to you at all times, so it'll move around on the floor with you, and you know exactly where it is, and you can give yourself that pressure if you need some more. But this stopcock is not very expensive. All up, I think you're most probably looking with your garden sprayer. Don't buy a cheap one. You need to buy a middle of the road. Don't bother about the brand name. Just you need to buy something that's going to be serviceable. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars buying one. You just get one that's going to be serviceable. This hose is quite good. All I've done is put a cable tie around there to keep it, and that has serviced me now. I've been using this for a couple of years and I haven't had any problems at all. There's another shot of the stopcock, and it really, really, really works. As again, all you need to do is to look up your embalming suppliers, and you can get one of these. You have to make sure that you can actually put the pipe onto it and give yourself enough so that it can actually clamp onto there so it doesn't fall off. Otherwise, you'll have fluid all over the place. All you need is a screw-in arterial. The other thing you can do is to put a luer lock fitting in there, and then you can put your needles where you have to do hypodermic work. I've had the 10-inch and the 4-inch plus the 3-inch and even the 1.5-inch little 25 gauge where I can do very fine needlework. So it is so versatile, and as I said, the biggest thing is you don't need power for this. You can do your embalm and you can be satisfied that you've actually done it without actually using any power. So in a sense, you're very eco-friendly. Anyway, that's about as much as I can tell you at the moment. So I will leave this open, and we have, if there's any questions, then right. I'm still talking, am I? Okay. Yes, thank you.